That. All right, so we are going to begin. So today we're here to talk about your child's Iowa and CogAT scores. And last week we sent home your child's scores in an envelope and with kind of a letter from the Archdiocese. So I hope everybody received those scores. If you did not receive them for some reason, please let me know. You can ask questions and stuff in the chat. I'll be checking those, but you can email me and I can get those right to you. I can scan, make a copy of them. But hopefully you have them. We are going to be referencing them and looking at scores. So if you don't have them in front of you, I'd encourage you to go ahead and grab them so you can kind of take a look at what I'm talking about. It will be helpful. And as we begin everything here at St. Anne, I'd like to open our meeting in prayer. So we'll just take a moment. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, as we begin this meeting, help us to grow closer and nurture the bonds of community. We give thanks for the gift of our vocation to serve St. Anne Catholic School. Open our eyes to see what you want us to see. Open our ears to hear what you want us to hear. And open our hearts to feel what you want us to feel. Bless all that we do. May it be holy work done in your name. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. So like I said, thank you again for joining me this evening. Our goal today is to talk about Iowa and CogAT. And what I'd like to do is give you an overview of those two tests and talk about the purpose of those tests. We'll also look at understanding the different types of scores and more specifically, the scores on your reports, and also look at interpreting the test scores. So those are our goals for this evening. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in, and we're going to start with Iowa. And I want you to know that Iowa is an achievement test. And what we mean by this is it's a test that measures students' knowledge and things that they have already learned in subject areas that they know. So we give the Iowa assessment to our 1st through 8th grade students. Our 2nd, 4th, and 6th grade students take the Iowa, but they also take the CogAT. So I will speak first about Iowa, and then when we're finished with Iowa, we'll go into CogAT. And for those of you whose children or child did not take CogAT, feel free to leave the meeting. If you'd like to stay on and learn about CogAT, we welcome you. But I'll just let you know that. So the general purpose of testing, why do we do this? Why is it important? And there's many reasons, but I narrowed it down to about 5. And first and foremost, we want to know how your child performs in key areas, such as reading, math, writing, science, and social studies. We also use the assessment to identify kids' strengths and weaknesses. So we want to look and see where they're falling, like what's happening when they take this test. And we realize this test is like just a snapshot. It's just a small window of their ability, but we do take it seriously. And we do, if we see a weakness in an area, we'll dive deeper into that to see what is actually going on. So it's really a great tool for us. We also want to monitor growth. This is a very important thing to us. We want to make sure our kids are growing. That is super important. So we use the assessment to see growth. And if growth isn't happening, again, it gives us information that it's not happening. Kids aren't growing or a child isn't growing. And we want to look at all aspects of that. What could be causing the issue for lack of growth? In addition to that, we want to compare our performance to other students that are in the same age and same grade. So we give this norm reference, what we call standardized tests, to see where kids are testing in the same way, the scores are scored in the same way, to see how our kids are doing. So we can look within the Archdiocese and also on a national level. And it gives us great information and areas where we may need to improve, or areas we say, wow, we're doing really great here. And then finally, we use this to evaluate kind of our own programs here, our own curriculum. Where do we need to grow? Is there an area, let's say in spelling, that all of our kids are not doing well in spelling? So we might want to look at the curriculum we use for spelling and change that. Or maybe our kids are doing phenomenal in math, and it just gives us some great feedback and information on the effectiveness of our curriculum. So when we look at Iowa assessments, there are a lot of different scores that we can choose from, but we look at what I think these are the three top scores that we're going to focus on. In your student narrative that was sent home, you should have these three scores on your narrative. If for some reason you do not, again, please just email me, let me know, and I'll get you the right information. So we're going to focus on grade equivalent, what we call national stay-9, and our national percentile rank. Those three scores are very important, and they're very important in different ways. And then we're also going to look at something called a Lexile level, and that is not going to be in your initial report, what I call chart. The Lexile level is going to be an itty bitty score at the very bottom of your narrative. You're going to see a sentence or two in tiny writing, and you'll see some numbers, two sets of numbers. And that is going to be your child's Lexile level. And I'll get into what that is in just a few minutes, but it is an important piece of information. So we're going to start with your grade equivalent, and you will see this on your grade sheet, on your chart, your narrative report, as listed as a GE score. And so grade equivalents are particularly useful and convenient for a couple of reasons. They are how we measure here at school an individual growth from year to year. So this is what our main focus is with grade equivalents. This shows us there is growth or there's not growth happening, or kids are kind of staying stagnant. We also use the grade equivalents to estimate a student's developmental status in terms of grade level. So I like grade equivalents, but we have to be careful with them because they can be misinterpreted. And I'll give you some examples of what I mean by this. But before I do that, I want to read that the grade equivalent is a decimal number that describes performance in terms of grade level and months. So if you're looking at the grade equivalent on your narrative report, you'll see the digits to the left of the decimal point represent the grade, and those to the right represent the month within that grade. So when I say we can misinterpret these scores, here's what I mean. So I'm going to present this question to you. If a fourth grade student earns a GE of 6.2 on a fourth grade reading test, should this student be moved to the sixth grade? And the answer to that question is no. But oftentimes, parents will feel that their child should be in sixth grade. They're doing sixth grade work, and this is not what this means. So it can be misleading. What this means basically is, well, first, the 6.2 can mean, yes, this child is doing great. He's reading at this higher level, obviously, than at fourth grade, and he's doing really well. But it doesn't mean that they're ready for the sixth grade or should be moved to the sixth grade. What it does mean is a student in fourth grade who has a GE of 6.2 in reading has scored same as an average student in the sixth grade, 8th month that has taken this test. It doesn't mean the fourth grader is doing sixth grade work or is able to do sixth grade work. It means the student scored the same as an average sixth grader. It's reasonable for us to assume that this child, like I said, is doing well. He or she is reading at a higher level, but it doesn't mean they're ready for placement in sixth grade. So I just want you to be careful with that grade equivalent. Like I said, we don't use these. Really, the only reason we use these or want to use these is for growth, because it's a great way to measure growth with our students. So I broke it down a little bit more to show you how growth works and kind of what the the average months of growth we're looking at year to year. So this table below shows the grade equivalent assigned to a median raw score of students tested in the spring of each grade level. So you'll see for grade K, you'll see the GE, the grade equivalent, as K represents their grade and 8 being the 8th month of the year. So what we want to see the following year at the same time when we're giving this assessment, we want to see a 10-month growth. So this is on average. So the next year in first grade, the student will be at a 1.8, the second grade 2.8, so on and so forth. And typically what happens is our students who are high achieving on the high end, they may have more than 10 months span. And then our students who struggle or are low achieving or may have a learning difference perhaps, we may see them not gaining as much, but our average is 10 months. So I know we didn't take Iowa CogAT last year, but if you happen to have your scores from years prior, you can kind of look at this and see what's happening. You can also see this in your STAR reports, your STAR reading and STAR math, the STAR 360 through Renaissance Place. When we send home those reports, you will see where your children, how they're doing throughout the year. So we definitely want to see a trajectory of growth. And just know that the 10 months is an average and give or take a few. So the main thing is just growth and progression. And if that's not happening, then we adjust accordingly and we kind of dive in to see what's going on. All right, so the next scoring we're going to look at is called the National Stay-9. So Stay-9s, I like Stay-9s. Well, Stay-9 is simply a derivation of the term Standard 9 scale. And these are scores that range from 1 to 9. The average value is a 5. And I love Stay-9s. I like them, but I don't like them. I like them in the sense that they're easy, they're quick. We look at that number, we know what it means, we know what it represents, and it's just a simple form. It's one number, so I like it. But I don't like it in the sense that these numbers are not precise. They don't give an exact, like a percentile rank would, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So here I did a comparison of Stay-9s and percentile ranks. And as you can see, with this bell curve, that there's a range of percentile ranks within a Stay-9. So we have to be careful when we see this, because we automatically think if your percentile rank was 50 in the 50s, you're going to be a 5, and if it's in the 60s, you'll be a 6, and that does sometimes work. But if you'll notice, like in 7, just because there's in like the 7 range, the 77 to 88 in the percentile range, if you have an 80, you're still in the 7 Stay-9. So we just need to be careful when it comes to Stay-9s and what percentile range they are or rank they are. But these are great. Like I said, they're simple, quick. We're really going to see the Stay-9s when we go into the CogAT scoring, and we're coming up with our ability profiles. So we use these mainly for them, but it's also a quick reference, and you'll see them on your score report listed next to your grade equivalents. So we love these, and they're just another measure and another way for us to look at our kids. So next we have our national percentile ranks, what we call our NPR. And the national percentile rank shows a student standing within the group of students in the same grade who were tested at the same time of year during the national standardization. So this really is the score we most often look at. And I will say that these are the most commonly used scores in education. So percentile is a score that indicates the rank of the student compared to others. Basically, that's it in a nutshell. So we're going to see percentile ranks from 1 to 99, and it's often expressed, like I said, from 1 to 99, and with 50 being our average range. So if a student scored in the 87th percentile rank, it would mean that they performed better than 80% of other students in this group. Percentile ranks are especially useful for determining areas of relative strength, weakness for an individual, class, or a group, and that's why we like them so much. I will tell you though, we have to be careful with NPRs like we do grade equivalents, because there is some misconception and confusion. So a common misconception is percentile ranks and percentages. So a 50% is not a failing rank like it would be as a grade. A 50% grade would be failing, but a percentile rank of 50 is middle of the road, it's average. So we just want to be careful with that. So I don't want you to see scores in the 40s and 50s and think, oh my gosh, these are horrible, when they're really not, because they're falling within the average level. So we want to be careful with that. And I did, on the bottom of this down here, you'll see 1 through 40 is below average, 41 through 59 is average, and then 60 through 90 is above average. Obviously, our 60 range is going to be slightly above average, where our 96 through 99 is going to be way above average. So that's just a way to look at these percentile ranks versus percentages. I don't want you to get confused there. So next, we're going to look at our Lexile levels. And what I'd like for you to do, if you have your report in front of you and you look at the very bottom, like I said, you'll see in tiny letters a couple sentences, and you'll see your range. It'll say your student's Lexile level range, or your range is 2 numbers. So what I did is I did a comparison of grades to kind of where an average, where your student should fall based on what grade they're in. Again, this is just an average. There's also this stretch Lexile here that stretches it out a bit. So this is a framework that connects the reading ability of a student with reading material that is suitable level of difficulty. So we're going to have reading material that's challenging, but not to the level of frustration. And we call this our 75% comprehension rate. That is our sweet spot. That's where we want kids to be. We want kids to be reading in this level. Now, I know kids have lots of interest, and I see kids, walking around with like Harry Potter, and they're in 1st or 2nd grade. And some may be ready to read that, but some may not be. So they can read whatever they want to read. But just know that the majority of their reading should be in their Lexile range in order for them to grow as a reader. So that's what's super important, and something you can focus on this summer. And they make it really easy, because if you, and I'm going to show you how this works. So you look at your child's range. So I'm going to click on this lexile.com if you're needing to know what books to get. So you can go to here to tools. And I'm hoping you can see this. If Mrs. Shamus, I think you're on this. So if you cannot see my screen, what I'm doing, just let me know. I want to find a book, because I'm like, hey, I want to find some books for my kids this summer to read. So I'm going to put in their range, and I'm going to make this range up. It's 4:30 to 5:30. And I want to do a search down here. I'm going to search this range. And look at this. Oh my goodness, 29,900 books have come up that are in my child's reading range. Well, that's an awful lot. So I'm going to say, I really need to narrow it down. So you can come over here to categories. And if you click on categories, you can search for, maybe your child loves mystery and suspense.
Mrs. O'Connor, we cannot see your screen.
Okay.
Wanted to let you know.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. All right, 1 second, okay? Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can get my my other screen back. Hold on. Okay, can you see this screen, the Lexile level screen?
Yes, we see the PowerPoint presentation. Okay. I don't think you switched over to the other one when you went to the website.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Whoops, let me go back. Hang on 1 second. if I click on this, let's see, here it is. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so let me go back. So we're going to find a book with our Lexile range. So here's my range. I've typed in 430 to 530. I'm going to do the search. And I said there's 29,000 books. Well, that's a lot of books to choose from. So I'm going to go over here to categories, and I want to choose a category. Let's say my child loves mystery and suspense. So I can click on that. And I'm going to apply filters up here. So it narrows it down to 746 books. So this gives me a much smaller list to choose from. So I would go through here and let's say, oh, the haunted library. Let me see what this one's about. So I love this because it tells me the age range here, how many pages, a little bit about the story. And what it does, what's really handy is if you want to buy it, you can just click on this button and buy it from Amazon, or this is find in library. And I don't know what library this goes to, but I think it's like a general library. But what I did for my own kids, I would just pick out 10 to 12 books, and we would go actually to the library in the summer and just check out some books. But I knew they were reading in their Lexile range, which was very important to grow them as a reader. So I love this tool. It's super handy. I suggest you browse around. There's lots of other information, but I think it's worth visiting. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint now, hopefully, and I'm going to.
Quick question about that.
Yes.
On the PowerPoint, it's saying K and first are an A, but we were given a Lexile score. So can you speak to that? Why that's not available, but we're still given a score range?
Yes, I'm not sure why that says NA. You know what? And it could just be because they are a low level. You know what? I will find out for you. Is this Mrs. Hegman?
Yes. Sorry to be difficult.
Sorry. So let me find out for you.
Yeah, if my kids are given a certain range, well, I mean, is that the range that they should be in? And if not, yeah, where do we get them to look at?
I will find out for you. Kindergarten, I can speak to that because we're not typically, well, they do test kindergartners on the Iowa. I'm sorry, I was going to say we don't typically test kinders for Iowa, but some schools do. We don't here. I will find out what the K through 1 range is. Obviously, it's probably going to be, you know, less. I see the stretch as 420, so it's going to be less than that. But where does it start? Like, is it 200? Is it 100? Sure. But I will find out.
Okay.
Definitely. Thank you for that question.
I am for Christian. He just finished grade 1, but we didn't see any scores come up on the Lexile range. There was no score at all.
Okay, on the bottom, you did not see. Okay, so what I will do for you is I will pull up from Data Manager information to get his Lexile scores for you. Okay, and I'm wondering too, Mrs. Hegman, do you have a score on your report?
I do.
Okay,
it's at the very, very bottom, really, really small, but we have a score. So.
Okay, so what you can do if you go to Lexile.com, you can type that score range in and see what comes up. It'll give you some information on what level and all that stuff. So you'll find that
on where they're supposed to fall within that grade level.
Right. And I know what you're saying. Okay. So I'll find out. I'll get that information for you.
So if they fall outside of the grade or the range, is that safe to say they're not where they need to be and they need to do better? Or, I mean, what dictates that Lexile? Who dictates what range they should be at what grade?
Well, the Lexile is they gather from the Iowa scores from the testing. is how they come up with their Lexile range. So how well they did on the reading portion of the assessment is how they come up with that. Now, how they aligned Lexile with grade equivalent, that I don't know. I just found this on when I started researching more about Lexile levels, because I
think that, yeah, that's where I was trying to figure out where that's coming from. So, okay. Sorry to be difficult.
No. I'm sorry. Thank you for your questions. I can answer some of them, but I can't answer all of them. So, but I will get Christian's level.
We stand to be corrected. We realize it's on the fine print, which I usually do not read.
Oh yeah, so it's really, really small, and I don't understand why they do it that way, because it's important information, and they couldn't make it any smaller. For years, I didn't even know the Lexile levels were there, to be honest with you, until I was like, wait, what is this saying down here on the very bottom? So, and then I go, this is so cool. Like this is really cool. And it's a fun tool. And like I said, we want kids in that sweet spot where they're 75% of comprehension, so we can grow them as readers. And if your child is not there or not in the range, please don't worry. It's okay. It's okay. It's information you have now, so something to work towards. Definitely something to work towards. Okay, so we're going to move on. So those of you who did not take the CogAT, if you want to leave the meeting, you can. If you'd like to stay, we'd love to have you. So we're going to switch gears and start talking about the CogAT and what this means. And the CogAT basically is an aptitude test, which measures intellect ability, and it focuses on analytical and problem-solving skills rather than specific knowledge. So what we do, and it measures in areas that are most linked to school success. And we look at verbal, nonverbal, and quantitative reasoning abilities. So your verbal is mainly like your inductive reasoning, problem solving, and verbal comprehension. Your quantitative is going to be kind of math skills. You're still doing the abstract reasoning and math reasoning. And then your nonverbal is inductive reasoning, but this differs from the other two in that the student doesn't use information gained from other experiences to solve a problem. So once the test is scored, an ability profile is given to you, and you will see that on your CogAT score sheet. You should have an ability profile. If you do not, again, let me know and I'll get you your child's profile. But we're going to look at the profile and I'm going to explain it. But first, I'm going to talk about your scores. So the CogAT scoring, we're going to look at a standard age score. We're going to look at a stay-9 and the percentile rank. Now, your standard age score, this is based on your child's age, not on the grade. So your child will receive this score, and it compares your child's score against children in the same age range. So the highest SAS that a child could receive is a 160, and the lowest is a 100. I'm sorry, the highest is a 160, and a 100 is considered average. You guys know what stay-9s are. I just went over them, and you understand percentile ranks. So CogAT focuses on stay-9s. So we're going to take a look at this score report. So here we go. Here's our standard age score right here. Here's our stay-9s. And basically, these things all kind of mean the same thing. It's just a different way to show it. And here's our percentile ranks. So how CogAT works is we're identifying a student's level of scores and a pattern of scores. Okay, so this is their level here. And this is going to represent their pattern. So how do we come up with this? So their level is based on, they take the middle number of the 3 tests. So we have 3 tests, 1, 2, 3. They take the middle number, in this case, it's 6. So that's going to be their score, a 6. A 6 over here, 4 to 6 is average. So you're going to be the high end of average. And then we're going to see what is the pattern of our scores. So what do these scores look like? What's the pattern? Well, the patterns are represented by letters. So if you have an A, that means your scores are all the same. They're basically within 2 or 3 points from each other, maybe 4 or 5, but they're all kind of in the same range. If you have B, that means one of your score is significantly above or significantly below the other 2 scores. In this case, you're going to see that here. Here we have a 35, here we have a 65 and a 77, and these 2 scores are similar, but this one is kind of an outlier. If you have a C letter, that means one score is way above, one score is way below, and then you have a score kind of in the middle of those 2. And then we have our E's, which is an extreme point difference. So when we have a B, C, or E, what's going to happen then is we're going to have a relative strength or a relative weakness in one of these 3 areas: verbal, quantitative, or nonverbal. So let me go through this again. So we're looking at this profile here. We have a 6B because the 6 is the average, right? It's the middle score here. B, we have the pattern because we have this score that is pretty far below these 2 scores. And because it's below, we're going to consider it a weakness. And because it's below in nonverbal, we're going to assign it an N because N stands for nonverbal. So we have 6B, we have a weakness in the nonverbal area, and we give it this minus sign. And that makes up your ability profile. That's what that profile means. Now, this is kind of cool, kind of like Lexile. If you go to this River Sites, and I'll share my screen. Where is it on here? Sorry. I'm looking for it. I think this is it. So if you go to this River Sites Insight and you scroll down, you can put in your child's ability profile. So it was a 6, and we're a B because we have one score that is significantly below the others. And we have, when you have to hit none here for strength, we have no strength, and our weakness is N because it's a nonverbal, was where the low score was. And what happens is it automatically generates a report. And here is the report. It says for profiles 4B, 5B, 6B with a weakness in nonverbal. And it gives you characteristics of the student, instructional strategies. Our teachers read this information, how to help this student. So you feel free to go and look up the scores and read more about your child's ability profile. So you can get some good information on how your child learns and kind of what you can do to help them in school. So we love that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my new share. I'm going to go back here. If you type in CogAT.com, it'll take you right to this Riverside Insights. So that is the end or the conclusion of the Iowa CogAT interpreting our scores. I'm going to look in my chat if I can to see if I have any questions. Maybe they were already answered. Oh, cannot see your screen. Okay. So I have about 4 minutes left. So if anybody has a question, feel free to ask. What does it mean, CCR on grade level? Not sure what that means. CCR. Okay. Where are you? Where do you see that? Is that on your? You'll have to let me know if that's on your narrative report. It was on my PowerPoint. Okay. Which slide? I guess I need to ask you. I'm sorry. Where? PowerPoint grade level. Okay, I'm not sure. Oops. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm going off point here, but what involvement did first grade participate in this STAR test? Well, they should have been tested 3 times this year. So that is done in their classroom by the teacher, or they go into the computer lab actually, but I believe their teacher's in there with them. I'm not sure if Guinness administers it, Mrs. Collins, or their teacher, but I'll have to find out for you what level, if they participated in that or not, but they should have. And Mrs. Papagayo, I will get with you on the CCR. I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to find it on my PowerPoint. I think you're saying, yeah. Oh, I know what it is. For grade 11, I think you're referring, I think that's college level. I think that if you're talking about the reading level or what level they're on, I believe that's college level. Oh, it was on the Lexile. Okay, it's college level. That's what that means. They're reading at college level and beyond. Okay, so one last thing before my time goes. Please email me if you want to dive deeper into your child's scores. I have things I can pull up for subtests to show you areas that they might need extra support in, or they did phenomenal in, or just anything you need to know. I'm here for the next 2 weeks from 9 to 3 this week, and then 8 to 3 this week, and next week from 9 to 2. So I thank you so much.
Quick question, really quick before you log off. Are these shared with the following teacher, like the grade up?
Yes,
so they
will.
can get a better, okay, like an understanding of where each child is, and if they needed that recommended resource, et cetera, of what they need to be improving on.
Yes. So what happens at the beginning of the year, we'll have grade level meetings, and I'll be sharing all of the scores with them for their incoming kids, so they know where their kids are and how to plan accordingly. And they got to see, the teachers got to see their scores before they left, just to know how they did. But what I did, collect them all back because they are confidential, and then